Welcome to Meeples on Meeples, episode 22. I'm Adam.
Ian.
Brian.
Andrew.
Before we get into our review for this week, we'd like to invite you over to our Facebook page at facebook.com/meeplesonmeeples, and also subscribe to our channel over on YouTube so you can be the first to see our videos when they go up every week.
This week's game of the week is First and Goal, an American football game. We thought we'd do a review before the Super Bowl hits, kind of a timely game. It's a very simple game. It's all basically it's card and dice driven. Yes, that brings a lot of luck into it, but you do need a little bit of background knowledge of football. Basically, there's
none.
The defense, they're gray cards, and then the offensive player will have green cards. And you'll start with 8 cards in your hand, and you pick which card you're going to play. So, you secretly pick, don't show your opponent obviously, and then someone will choose the defense card. Pick a play, we'll just do something random. Okay, and then you go 1, 2, 3, you flip and show. I played screen, he played cover. Now, the cool thing is on the cards themselves, okay, it actually shows all of the possible, like on my offensive card, shows all of the defensive plays he could have done. And on his defensive card, it shows all of the offensive plays. So we just have to find the other person's card, and it'll tell you which dice to roll. So if I played a screen, he played cover, I find cover on my card. And cover, I would roll the blue and the white die. And then the defensive player would roll the black die. All of the regular colored dice have positive numbers, which you add them, that's how many yards you get to run. The defensive die, the black one, has, I believe, 1 positive, a 0 or negative to push you back or subtract from your ultimate roll. But that's basically how it plays. The board is set up, very simply. Get these out of here. You've got a football. You start on your left. So let's say you start at the 20-yard line. As a marker to mark for first down, you get the 10 yards. And so then whatever you rolled, you move the dice up that many, and you move it over a lane for second down. There's a third lane for third down, for fourth down. There's special rules for punting, kicking. You can fake kick or field goal. And it's pretty simple. It's just old dice and cards.
And besides the number die, there is one die you always roll as the offense, which is the play die. And that does some different things. It can either be an X where it's broken up, where the play's broken up.
And you do nothing. You don't do any of them.
A T where there's a possible turnover, or a penalty, or a P where there's a possible penalty.
And then lastly, the lightning bolt.
And lastly is the lightning bolt, which is a breakaway.
Breakaway, which means you get all of the dice again. So if let's say you had a really good play, like I had called an offensive play and they totally miscalculated what I was going to play, so I get all of these dice and the lightning bolt comes up, so I move this many and we roll them all again. And if the lightning bolt keeps coming up, you keep breaking away and moving down the field. Can you guys think of anything else? I mean, there are rules for timeouts. Basically, if you know the basics for football, you can play.
It's pretty basic. If you don't really know, like kicking, things like that, it's all written right on the board here. So.
Yep.
It's pretty. If you've ever played any video game, football game, you have an idea of how to do this.
Or watched football.
Or watched football.
Like normal people would have
and
watched
then in
football.
the back of the book,
normal people are playing board games.
And if you're not familiar with American football, in the back of the booklet it kind of gives a rundown of all the plays. So you get a feel for when you should do a running play versus a passing play versus a... So it kind of gives suggestions and explains how the plays work out.
Those suggestions mean nothing. it's really about playing your opponent.
Yeah.
It's almost a poker. Can you read them? Can you see what they're doing? The neat part is you're really just sitting about feet away from your people that you're talking.
You're sitting feet away from your people.
That was impressive.
You're footing about enough foots away.
Anyway,
I mean, you're really within a couple feet of you're a couple feet from your opponent, and they're talking about the plays that they're going to do. So you can kind of, I mean, really, it's
you have to watch them, kind of see what they're talking about.
Like I totally should be doing a passing play right now. Oh, you think? And then it's a running play.
Okay, do we want to jump into what strategy?
Jump to our components. Is usually we usually start off with.
Okay.
I think it is awesome that it's magnetic. The little ball is magnetic.
That is amazing.
As we will demonstrate now
and
here.
This is magnetic.
They'll stay on there. They don't budge, which is pretty sweet.
Which is super awesome. That's one of the major things, because when we first pulled it out, I went, oh, great. Little tiny things, you're never going to be able to keep track of it.
Yeah, it's just going to slide all over.
And it's a strong magnet, too. I mean, it's surprising.
It's fairly good. When you pull up on it, it's
metal strip that runs down the center, so the whole field is magnetic.
I mean, it's not rare earth, but it's definitely a good magnet. But the neat part is it's kind of almost retro to the point of the old shaker magnet game that you'd play. You put all your people on, turn it on, and then your player would move and shake through the entire... I don't know what it's called.
I've never actually played that, so I have...
If you're old enough to have that originally, please write us.
I'm just poor enough to
we'll
have
try and
that.
get you a copy.
I still had one.
Otherwise, besides the board, it's cards and dice. Cards aren't anything, I don't think, too spectacular. Just kind of your glossy playing cards.
Yeah, but they've got that plastic coating. I think they'll hold up well over time. I've played this several times. I played it with you guys several times with my son, and the cards, they've held up.
And the dice are pretty good. They are sticker dice where everything's stuck on the sides. But
don't forget that you can't just break this out and play it. You have to sticker all 6 sides of all of these dice by hand. Yeah, you have to sticker them yourself. And there's nothing in the box that tells you what number goes opposite of which other number, so what face it goes on. You have to go online and find that on their website, which was kind of a pain, because I was looking at it first and I'm like, it could make a big difference if, where you put the numbers on a die. So... That's another little
I think overall
warning.
The components are, serviceable for what it needs to do. It doesn't need to do anymore. It does it all what it does well.
Yeah. It's a one-piece board, but in this particular game, it doesn't really matter because if it moved apart, who cares? It's one of the very few games where I will say that being connected doesn't really make a difference to me.
The maintenance solves kind of that problem.
Right.
How about strategy for this game? I guess where the meat and potatoes of this game is.
I'm going to jump in and say, it's like Ian said, knowing the rules of football help, but it's more about knowing what your opponent. Because if you are like, okay, the sensible thing is they should be conservative and play a running play here, and if you're the person you're playing against is a wild card or knows nothing about football and they go for the bomb, every play or whenever it's completely unnecessary, then it's gonna your defense is worthless no matter how well you know football.
It's only unnecessary when you lose.
Yeah, no matter how well you know football,
it's very necessary for you guys.
Yeah. Know them, know your opponent.
It is very much a poker strategy, like you said. It's being able to read what they're going to do, and like you said, because you're only feet apart. It took you 30 seconds to get that out. But because you're only a few feet apart, you can kind of see what they're talking about, hear what they're talking about, and because of that, you kind of have to, whisper or control what you're saying to kind of play off.
If you do, it can be 2-player.
Yeah,
the 4-player is more of a variant.
One of the downfalls of the components. I wish it came with clipboards. Like when you're watching real football and they're holding.
I like the headset.
We should do our entire review like this, so they don't know who's talking. Another thing about the strategy is play your cards wisely. And diehard football fans are going to dislike this because it's not an accurate representation of the game. You only have 8 cards, and you can only play what you have in your hand. And if you have repeats of cards, really, you've only got a few select plays to choose from. You can't choose anything from your entire playbook at any given time. So, play your cards wisely. Think ahead about what you want to keep. Yes, you do draw for every one you play, but that's something to keep in mind. Is what's you can call a timeout and go through your discard pile too.
As much as it scares me, Madden. The video game, you guys, make a board game. Let's see it.
It'd probably actually be a little more in-depth.
Can we talk to you about the game halves are built based on the deck size, and as you discard, that's where you end the half is when you get down to the bottom.
Yeah, your cards are your timer.
As you're depleting your inventory and switching, you actually switch each other's decks. So I'm offense now this turn, and then I give the defense the offensive deck, and then they switch with me, and so I kind of know. Near the end, kind of...
You have some control over what they're going to have. Like, in our last game, for instance, Andrew and I played through most of the passing cards.
They know nothing about football.
Early on in the game, which was a strategy that worked for us, but in reality, you want to...
It worked for them.
Pure luck. It was pure luck. Strategy, my foot.
Up and down, it worked.
You want to control maybe how much you use passing plays, because when you get to the bottom of the deck, and if you played a lot of passing plays early on, all you're going to have is running, and the other side's going to know it, because like Ian said, you pass that deck back and forth, so they're going to know exactly what they need to play.
Okay, so we're moving into likes and dislikes, just for the segue.
Yeah, we can go.
Okay.
That wasn't a good segue.
I know, but you guys did it like 2 minutes ago without talking about components.
We went into strategy. Where were you?
That was strategy.
Well, okay, that's true.
That was my strategy.
But he was complaining about our strategy.
You were complaining about our strategy.
Yeah.
Likes and dislikes on it. One thing I'm going to jump in on is the time to play it. The box says it's 60 minutes.
No way.
No way in heck. And we played half tonight, and we've played it a few times before, but we just did one half tonight before the review.
We could have came back. We could have came back.
And it took us an hour to do that half. I mean, there's no way you're getting this game in 1 hour. And with that, I think it could get... I was already getting to the point where I was kind of getting bored at the end of the game. That second half, I think, could really...
I think a speedy full game would be an hour and 20 if you're really just whipping out your plays and not like sitting and thinking about it too much.
But like you said, most of the cards are duplicates. There's not a lot of plays. So once you get to that second half, you kind of have your strategy down. Each team knows what the other team's kind of like, and I think it could really start to get really started to drag in that last hour.
And so adding timeouts.
It was starting to drag a little bit in the first hour.
It's like a real football game. That last half can really
a real football game is 3 hours. I think this could take 3 hours.
It could, depending on the players you have.
Yeah.
A real football game's how long?
Around 3 hours.
Commercial breaks.
I'd be done after the first 20 minutes.
Likewise, I enjoy the fact that let's turn the board, it's so skinny that, and I keep telling the guys this, that we should get another one, and you could have multiple games going on a regular sized table and do like a tournament style play.
Mm-hmm.
And they do run tournaments actually at some of the big game conventions and stuff. It's really
Just
compact
put a
and
little divider
nice.
up, because otherwise it can get really distracting really quick.
I suppose, and keep everybody's cards separate. But it's just the fact that, look, we have the entire game out, and look how compact everything is.
Yes.
I mean, you just need a little room for rolling the dice, and that's about it. And it's still high quality. They kept it small, but well made and everything.
Yeah, I think the components are a definite like. We've already kind of hit that, but the magnets and everything is definitely.
So you
like
could play this in like homeroom or something in a high school and on like a small tabletop desk.
Anything else from anybody else dislikes?
Make paper footballs with magnets in them, it'd be a blast.
This
For
game,
schools. Yeah.
This game really reminded me.
You know what? I'm sorry.
That's okay. Just
he said the paper football game. You know what? To add a flick option in this game, I think it would be kind of fun.
Like if
like
the penalty
a
popped
pitch
up
car meets first and goal.
Yeah, I would
for your punt or for your kick again.
Yeah, because I think just the dice roll itself, it's okay. But I think add a little bit of dexterity in there. I think it'd be really fun. See, I said a good word, dexterity.
There you go.
I had a little bit of nostalgia. It really reminds me of like the old Madden games. Because it's just a little bit sim. It reminds me of like Madden 94 back on the Super Nintendo, where you've only got so many plays to choose from, and you can get lucky at times playing ridiculous plays and stuff. However, you can't do a Hail Mary every play in this game.
No, Hail Marys are really hard.
It's really hard and rare that you get to play Hail Marys, but it has that like old school, that throwback vibe. It's so simple.
The 90s Maddens where you just throw a Hail Mary on.
Yeah.
It does feel a little.
It's got just the right taste of football with a casual game, kind of.
I think we can probably jump into our reviews here then, unless anybody has anything else.
No.
Our reviews scale of 1 to 10. 5 is 0 is never want to touch again. 10 is the greatest thing ever made. Cosmic Encounter.
Sure.
Along those lines.
Oh, yeah. Cosmic is amazing.
Yeah.
All right. You know what? I kind of thought through. I think I'd go with a 6. I love the fact that it's magnetic. It's easy to play, very easy to work with. However, though, it does drag. It's not as fun as I'd like it to be, but I probably, if it hit the table, I'd play it, but maybe for something else, probably wouldn't buy it myself. So
I'm going to go 7. I like the fact that they threw in there, you can play it 3 or 4 players. It's really not great that way. It's a 2-player game when it boils down to...
Yeah.
I mean, when you really look at it, it's otherwise, you'll be the defensive guy, and then you just stare at each other's cards and you still talk it through or whatever, or point to cards and suggest a play. So you just kind of sit there and watch a lot of the game. But I like the fact that they tried to make it 3 or 4 player. The components, like we already covered, are really great. I enjoyed the game quite a bit, though. I mean, I really do. I'd give it a 7. Part of me is glad they didn't go way too hardcore simulation style, where some of those games have all these charts that you have to look at and everything. Some of the sports games, it's just casual enough, I think, that people can play it. But the big downside for me is just that play time. This seems like something you should be able to whip out during like the halftime during the Super Bowl, when you have a bunch of people over and play a quick game or something, and you can't play a quick game. It just doesn't work. It's a dedicated game night.
That's true. The halftime.
Have you ever watched the halftime Super Bowl? It's like 2.5 hours.
Well, it's an entire game in and of itself. So yeah.
I'm actually going to jump on something you said. What makes this game good, and one of the reasons I actually like it, is that they didn't go too sim. I mean, they could have gone to like one of those team manager like video games that are
Pizza
out there.
Box Football has a lot more charts and stuff, which is right above my head up here.
I haven't played that, but the same type of thing. They could have really gone in depth, making you the...
Yeah. I think it might be in the shot here.
Making you the coach of the team, but they didn't do that, and I'm thankful for that, because it's, like I said, it's kind of like those 90s video football games where it's just simmy enough where it mimics the plays, but game enough that you don't really have to know a lot about football in order to play it. Like I said, I love the components. I'm probably going to go with 6 with Ian, though, and the main reason for that is sitting through a 2-hour game of this would probably be too much. Like I said, I got to an hour. It was getting a little long for me and starting to run a little thin. So that's probably the biggest downfall and why I'd go with the 6.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to go with a 6 as well. The game's nice. It's magnetic, which is really sweet. But playing 4 players, is just not doing it for me. Like, I think maybe if I played 2 players, the game actually might go a little quicker. So you might get closer to that 60 hour or
60 hours.
Yeah, like a real football game.
Exactly. Not to mention that I do not like regular football. American football, excuse me. Let me clarify. I like other footballs. But no, it didn't. I like the round.
Hacky sack footballs. What?
You like the footy ball?
Anything you kick.
Look it up on YouTube. I am a hacky sack champion.
Is that actually on YouTube?
Anyways, I don't know. We're gonna see if people will look, because they'll probably just stop the video and start looking right now. Anyway,
way to kill it.
The cards and everything are nice. I think the dice is really fun because it can add quite a bit of excitement to it. To when you're like, yes, I got 4 of the big ones, and you can get
the breakaway.
Like when we got 3 breakaways and just ran it right down the field. Right. There was you get that little rush, like high five, boom! I can't believe we just did like a 70-yard run.
It really does that, but I think that 2 players, it could be a very fun game. You can maybe get in for just over an hour, and I might play it again. But as a 4-player game, I'm just not into it. So I might give it a higher score if I played it with 2, but for now it's going to be a 6.
All right, I think that wraps up our review. First and goal for this week. Go a game right before the Super Bowl. We again didn't talk about what we're playing next week. We are terrible about this. We got a whole wall of games back here.
Yeah, we got going on.
Have we done Panic
You know what?
Station?
We have not done level 7. We've been talking about that for a while.
Yeah, we had a viewer request for level 7 as well.
This is true.
I say we should
level 7's been sitting on the shelf for several months, so we'll do level 7.
The level 7 it is.
Check us out next week.